Hi, everyone. Welcome to Author Spotlight. We're having a comedic day so far. We've had not one but two pretty big blips here, but we are now actually live and ready to go. And I'm so excited about my guest today, Linda Sutton, who is the best-selling author of It Takes Two to Tango. This is really going to be a fun time together, and I think you're going to have some surprises. So I'm going to play our intro so I can get us going on Facebook, and then I'll be right back. All right. So it is my great pleasure now to bring Linda Sutton onto the stage for our very fun conversation.
Hi,
Hi,
welcome,
Linda.
Leslie.
Welcome,
Hi.
welcome. I'm
Yes.
so glad. I think we have overcome all of our little speed bumps, and now we're finally here together. And you're looking beautiful and amazing as always, with your gorgeous roses by your side. So you have the perfect setting.
Thank you for having me, Leslie. I'm
Oh,
so excited to be here, and it's okay because everything happens for a reason. I
that
think
is
we're being orchestrated to align with someone who wants to and needs to hear this message.
indeed, indeed. And, I'm so tickled that we get a chance to talk because I feel like we've known each other for such a long time, and yet we don't know a lot about one another. So I'd like to start off, if we could, sort of stepping outside of being an author, outside of this book. Tell us just a little bit about you and what gets you super excited.
What, you mean there's something other than dance? Like that's what I eat it, as I used to
There's
say
those
jokingly to
roses.
my friend. Well, of course, yes, I love flowers. I absolutely love flowers. Um, but I think I do over 20 different dance forms. So dance, I'm literally moving all throughout my life. And when I am not reading, I mean dancing or having tea parties, I love books. I love to read. And I was a voracious reader as a child. And so, like, consuming books the way that I probably consumed dances is how I started. And so, people probably wouldn't know that as a child I was a certified bookworm, but that was me.
That's awesome. I don't know how many of us there are as little kids that are certified bookworms, but I was one too. So that probably has something to do with why you and I really connected so immediately and so strongly. So I love that about you.
Thank
It's
you.
awesome. But outside of then reading, what really sparked that idea inside of you that you wanted to write a book?
Well, it probably started as a child. I mean, I used to love like the scholastic book fairs and where you'd have the flyers, and I would literally circle. My family didn't have a lot of resources, so we were rarely ever able to buy any. But I would circle all the books, and my mom would be like, "Baby, you can't have all the books." I'm like, "Yes, I want all the books." And so in ninth grade, I had a poetry project that we had to write,
Mm.
and I made it actually into a book. I got a binder and did my little painting on the side. And it was actually at that moment that I realized it was something that I could do. Just see, having a little binder of my works was the first time I realized I'm like, oh, actually, I could write my own book one day. Maybe when I'm in the old days, that's what I used to think. I'll write my first book. And so that was the spark that manifested years later.
That is beautiful. So you have had that spark for a long time. So
Yes.
that's great. And then when did you first get involved with dance? Is this something you've done your whole life, or is this something that you grew into as an older woman?
As a definitely. Most people think that when they see me dance, especially perform, they think I came out of the womb dancing. And I'm like, you could
Yes.
be further from the truth. I was clumsy. I was a tomboy. I loved to dance, but I was, that was probably the only place I wasn't stumbling all over myself, to be honest, in sports and dance. But when I was just like walking, I was clumsy, always bumping into things. It was actually, and of course, my family couldn't afford the lessons. I'm the oldest of five children. So when I was recovering from a car accident, actually,
Mm.
they thought it would be good for me to cross train in terms of my recovery, my therapy with the traditional physical therapy and dance. And I was required to do that in college. So I signed up for my first dance class in college. And it was beginner ballet, and it was a certified mess. It was a mess. Miss Leslie. So, I was so happy to be there, but I was dancing like a hippopotamus in a tutu. And because beginner ballet in college is not for people who are beginners. And
Mm.
so, my teacher was very discouraging because she was not happy that I was messing up her beautiful painting. But I derived so much joy in just finally being able to be there and learn and stumble through it. And so she actually made a remark during that class. I had no thoughts of becoming a professional dancer, but there was something about that because I wasn't, that she made such a disparaging remark that made me go, I wasn't even trying to be a dancer. But for whatever reason, God had a different plan. And years later, I began to dance to kind of balance out stress. And it called me, and opportunities started to come, and God brought me here.
Well, that's fascinating. So now I really feel like I know you better already because that really speaks to who you are in your essence, that you took that class with an instructor who was not thrilled with you being there and clearly tried to discourage you. But from that, you blossomed into not letting it go. It's, our a lot of times our first response to having any kind of instruction that becomes negative is to say, well, okay, I'm never going to be any good, or that's clearly not for me, I'm going to move on. But instead, you brought something beautiful out of what was probably a very stressful class for you.
It was in that it was one of the first experiences because I was a successful student where I had a teacher that was acting like she didn't want me to be in the classroom. That was a new experience.
Mm-hmm.
But also, I think what made it kind of a positive experience for me is, and I've said it once before, nothing she could say and do could discourage me. I was so happy to finally take my first dance class. I knew how expensive they were. I knew how much of it had been a financial barrier in the future, in the past with my family. And so, like, it didn't matter. Like, and I think my fellow students were actually inspired by that because no matter what she said, I was like, I don't care. I'm in ballet and I am here to dance and I'm look crazy and that's okay. And hopefully tomorrow I will be better, especially since I was already clumsy. So just like to be able to figure it out and learn. And I know it inspired them because they started to tutor me. They started to work with me after class to help me. And just that level of excitement. And I think that joy is probably what God kind of put inside of me already because that was the thing that drove me then and that's the thing that drives me now. And I try to convey to my students and those who are interested, like, it's not about looking like a perfect ballerina. It's not like about looking like what's on the posters in the movie. It's about what brings you joy and just explore it from that place. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be you.
Oh, I love that. I have to tell you though, it's so hard for me to imagine you ever being clumsy because you just move with such grace and such beauty. I could watch you dance all day. It's just so wonderful. So, give us the big picture of your book and why that book is so important right now.
Wow, we are neck deep in the battle of the sexes. I mean, all over these here internet and social
Yeah.
media streets, people are kind of men and women and, you know, human to human just battling, especially the battle of the sexes, and a kind of a breakdown and lack of appreciation, a lack of understanding of the purpose of relationships. And so I've been doing my work for quite some time, but I think the time is now for this work because tango is the perfect partnership dance. It really helps you to understand in a very visual and a very visceral way what it means to be in relationship and what it means to be in partnership with another. I am a dancer, so we dance, we move in our classes, but it's to help people to understand how we were designed to work in concert in collaboration with one another to create something beautiful like a dance and partnership or anything else that we want to create in the world.
And who do you see this book helping the most?
I definitely have a heart for couples because I believe that, the couple is the fundamental foundational element, building block of society. You know, out of a couple comes marriage, comes families, and out of families come communities, and communities come nations. And so, because I had that perspective, I have a special, special heart for helping couples to succeed, to have a new perspective of what it means to be in partnership with their partner, to get people over this idea that relationships are hierarchical, which is very much a cultural and societal thing here in the US where we're speaking, but that it's really truly interdependence and partnership. And so, I love working with singles as well and preparing them for partnership, but there's just something about working with couples and those who really have a desire to take their relationship to the next level that I love working with.
That's great and so important. And what's one message or one story that you really hope sticks with each person that reads your book?
Mm. Well, my overarching message is a message of, and I say this if you don't get anything else from interacting with me when it comes to leading and following in partnership, is there is no leader without a follower. So that's kind of my marching orders. If you don't remember anything else from Linda Sutton, other than love, is that because we in this culture think so much of leadership and followership as control and power over and asking for submission of another to be in relationship, is to understand, especially for my leaders, that there is no leader without a follower, that relationship is a relationship of agreement and it's a relationship of shared
Mm.
vision. And so when you're in a couple with another person, you two are agreeing on a vision, either for your relationship or for the world, that you are going to work together to create. Like nobody's controlling, nobody's submitting. It's really about interdependence and working together. And, I always tell my leaders, if you don't have someone who's in agreement with that, you ain't leading nobody, child.
Mhm. Yeah. And sadly, that the opposite is so often the case in relationships with couples. You don't see that, and you see much more of sort of battling for control
Mhm,
or refusing to submit or not understanding that you are two people working toward a common goal.
mhm. You're on the
But
same team.
exactly, exactly. And that's what I found so delightful and surprising about your book because I'm not a dancer. I've never been a dancer. We weren't even allowed to dance in my household. So I didn't have that sort of within me or sort of hardwired. And when I thought about your book before I had the opportunity to read it, I was like, I don't really get how this is all going to be. And is this going, I thought it was maybe going to be sort of a contrived bridge, but it is anything but that. There is this beautiful, natural syncing up. that happens through the principles of tango as it applies to how we interact with people that we are in relationship with. So at every turn of the page, I found myself getting more and more delighted by seeing how this applies and how you can integrate it into not just romantic relationships, but
Oh, where I think I've lost some audio. I think I've lost my audio with you. Uh-oh, we are live. Uh-oh. As I say, the enemy is busy today. Are we there? I can't hear you. There we are.
right, there
All
we go.
right. As
All
they
right.
say, the enemy is busy today. He does
He is
not
so,
want, he
so,
does
so,
not.
so busy. All
This
right.
is truly,
It is.
but that's
I was
okay.
I
Go
was
ahead.
talking about the correlation
Mm-hmm.
between um, the principles of tango and not just romantic relationships, but in relationships as a whole.
Absolutely.
And I found that every page that I turned, I was getting like more and more into that. And I like to think that I have a different perspective on all relationships from reading your book. So I'm so grateful and so thankful that I had an opportunity to read a book that I guarantee you, if I saw it on a shelf, I wouldn't have thought that's the book for me.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what's so delightful about this story is how it applies to all kinds
All
of
relationship. I mean, when they say it takes two to tango, it's really more than a metaphor. And it, when I encountered this dance for the first time, I too had a wow moment, a mind blowing moment, because the first time I really experienced what it takes and that kind of moment of oneness with a dance
mm,
partner, when I realized I was like, oh my God, it takes two to tango is not just a metaphor. Like it is a real, genuine, physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual experience. And you are correct. It doesn't, even though it's the most obvious in intimate and interpersonal relationships of a, kind of interpersonal romantic, it applies because the same steps that it takes to create a beautiful dance are the same steps that you need to take in order to create that kind of beautiful movement with any person that you're interacting with. So,
yeah.
yes, you can use it to apply romantically, but you'll soon find as you dive into the principles that I actually can use this in all of my relationships. And I recently just did some work around using tango principles in a work environment. So, yes, you're
Mm,
correct. It very much applies.
that's great. So let's talk a little bit because I get so excited about this. The writing process itself, what surprised you the most about writing your first book?
That was a tough one. Number one, shout out to you because you are actually my editor.
Thank you.
So yeah, yeah, yeah. That's what makes it such a joy to talk with you outside of the book. I think the most surprising thing for me was actually battling through my own fears and trepidation. And that, of course, for me, as someone who does a lot of different things, getting over my perfectionism was a surprise for me because it's something that I deal with in working with students and audiences or whatever in terms of not letting your fear stop you from moving. And yet, at every turn and every step and stage of this process, I was locking up and seizing up just like my students. And so it's beautiful because, in some ways, this way that I talk through someone else who's having fears on the dance floor is literally the same way I had to talk to myself. And it was beautiful that God sent me a lot of people to give me those same lessons in terms of like just execute it one step at a time. And I would be like, okay, I know that lesson.
I was going to say, I know that.
Okay. Thank you, Lord. Yes, the lesson number one, you can only execute one step at a time. So yes, that was a surprising part. But true to form, the writing of the book really was writing down the principles, literally walked me through the process as a writer.
Perfect. That's perfect. And I know you know this, that perfectionism, it really is one of the key components of what we call writer's block that isn't technically even writer's block. It's that loop of perfectionism and thinking, I just need to do this one more pass and
Mm-hmm.
one more time. And we who are perfectionists have that fear of it ultimately not being perfect. So it's hard to take the next step at all.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Literally. Literally. Literally.
So you did it.
Mm-hmm.
And how has writing that first and now second book changed you personally?
It's so funny because, the master becomes a teacher and the teacher becomes the master, that kind of cycle. And I feel like this process definitely took me through that, because it was hilarious to me to be in the conversation in my head and see me go through the same things in another arena that my students go through in working with me. And so just like I encourage them to just keep going and accept imperfections as and I use air quotes around that, as a part of the process.
Yeah.
Going into the second book, it was the same way. I was like, oh, you can't tell me that now. We're going to shake our thing. We're going to get out here and do it, because
Mm.
it's really more about the message
Yeah.
than being perfect. And so that's been the process for me, just going through it step by step using literally the same principles.
And and how does it feel? I mean, I know how it feels, but tell us how it feels to become a best-selling author.
It's humbling. It's humbling. I'm here to serve. Like, I love this work and sharing this message. It's my life purpose. So I'm here to do it, whether it impacts one or a billion. And so, but to see it resonate with so many people has just moved my heart and encouraged me to get out here to do as much as I can in the world to help people improve their relationships. Because I truly, truly believe in my heart and soul that you can change the world one relationship at a time.
One dance at a time.
One dance at a time. Ooh, now you speak my language. Yeah.
So you were actually a part of something that is near and dear to my heart. You were in the first group of the self-publishing cohort at Victoria Shoe Press, and it was such a fun experience from my side of things. But I'd love to hear about how it felt to you to be in that group of just incredible women that were so different yet so powerful, each in their own way, to be on this journey together and writing different books at the same time
Mhm.
and supporting one another. What did that feel like?
It was an extraordinarily beautiful process. And it came at a stage in my life where, though I'm typically supporting others, this was a stage in my life and in my journey where I needed support. I was coming out of COVID and a lot of tragedies that I experienced in that. And so, writing the book was a way for me to get back in the saddle of my life. And um, at first, to be quite honest, I felt it was challenging to give because I felt like I was, kind of on E. But the group was just like, we are all going to moving forward as a team. People poured into me, and therefore I was able to pour into others. And it was just beautiful to see people both plant seeds and let their project blossom, but to watch them blossom alongside their project was just so beautiful, because people are not only at different projects but different stages in their life, has different life missions, and to see all that converge to this creation was powerful. If I may, I'd also like to share something else. This journey for me started long before the cohort, if I may.
because I had Joan on my television show years ago.
Yeah.
And without getting too far into it, I actually had some sample manuscript ideas in my lap in my interview with her. And I remember saying to her, I was like, you're going to be the person to make sure I write, get these books done. And true to form, the Lord was like, oh, did you say that? Okay, bet. so,
Really noted.
um, so it was beautiful for me, and even at another level, perhaps, because I had spoken with her before. I kind of had it in my heart. I was thinking when, and then it came full circle and came before me, and I was like, the time is now. And so it was beautiful that it was her. It was always meant to be her and you as a part of that team. And so, just a beautiful full circle moment.
It is a full circle moment. And I remember you talking about that the first time, and I thought, my goodness, it's just that is such a testament to living in your purpose and staying within your purpose, because it took a while for that to come full circle, but it did as it was meant to.
hmm And it was so funny because I think my last interview with her was literally right before COVID hit.
Wow.
And so, it's divine timing, but probably as an encouraging word to anybody watching this, things can come, life can come and knock you down in all ways and shape, forms, and fashions. And if you just keep it in your heart, eventually the time will come, whether it has to come back around or that was never the right time in the first place, to bring you front and center in your purpose.
Absolutely. So, how did the support and accountability come into play of the cohort in finishing your book? Because I know you said you had to keep, talking to yourself and sort of relearning your own lessons. But how did the accountability of the group? Because we were on a very tight, very specific timeline, but we also had support of others, not just in our weekly meetings, but we had and have a WhatsApp group. And so there was always this back and forth of one another holding each other accountable and holding each other up. How did that apply to you as you were trying to get the book actually finished?
I know that's right. This is exactly what I needed. I knew that that's what I needed. I needed someone to help me get across the finish line, if you will, or make sure that I get across the finish line. And it's not because I'm not an accountable person, in my life and my work, I do a lot of different things. And so usually I'm really accountable, but for certain projects that, especially ones that are really dear, and I know we all know that, those things that are probably the closest are your heart is like your babies, and you're like, I don't know if I want to let my baby out to the world. But you
Right?
guys were not playing. So I knew with you guys in that team, was it, because it was so tight, it was like no room to kind of get caught up in your fears. It was like we have to meet these deadlines, deadline after deadline after deadline after deadline. And then you guys were no nonsense. And that was what I needed at that time. It was like, you better, where is it? You better send me that email. I was like, oh, yes, ma'am. Okay. Here it is.
Yeah.
And by getting it out of my hands and letting someone else take over, if you will, not that you all took over, but by basically not allowing me to get stuck in my own conversation and stories, really was the bridge that got it over the finish line and out to the world.
Yeah, that's great to hear, because I feel like I'm a pretty accountable person too, and I can give myself a deadline and really mean it. But if something happens and you get up to you're butting up against that deadline, it's all too easy to say, just one more week,
Mm-hmm.
and then that week can turn into a month, as we all know.
Mm-hmm.
And that was tight, and it was tight for a reason.
And it was needed. It actually really aligned with my normal work style. So in
Mm-hmm.
my professional and corporate world, where it's
Yeah.
kind of like rapid fire. So that also helped too, because it aligned with that. My creative project's a little bit different, because obviously the creative process is a little bit different. But in my corporate world, it's like, okay, it needs to be done in 46 hours, 36 hours. It's
Mm-hmm.
got to be done. And so that helped also.
That's great. So if someone is listening and they're thinking about joining a cohort or that type of a group effort and group accountability, what would you say to them to encourage them that perhaps that is a good step for them to take?
Absolutely, because this is for all my creatives and my lone wolves out there, especially for those, you're used to having complete ownership and agency of your creative projects, or you're used to wearing all the hats and lone wolfing it. Those specialty projects, oftentimes when it's time to take it to truly another level, where God has called you to reach a certain group or groups of people, is to have a respected and trusted team around you to help usher you into your next era, to get you into your promised land, to get you into your Canaan, to fight off the giants too. So this kind of environment and structure really will help you bring it to light and bring it to life.
That's beautiful. And so for the person that is listening that hasn't been able to take this book that's in the heart and bring it onto the page yet, they're hesitating for any number of reasons. Could be from they don't know how to get started to the fear of perfectionism and the fear of ridicule, doing a bad job.
Mm-hmm.
There's as many reasons for not starting as there are days of the year. What, as now a 2-time best-selling author, what is your encouragement to take the first step? Because so many times that's what you need to do, is just take the first step.
Take the first step. And that literally is it. Take the first step and realize it's literally one step at a time. And so if you take the first step and then have other professionals around you who have gone before you, because I think a part of the writing part wasn't hard for me. It was the process, not knowing the process or understanding the process, that was more of an issue. Take the first step. Like I said, get with people that you trust and that can advise you and usher you into the next phase. And not just books, but we're obviously talking authorship. But any creative project that you're looking for, like reach out to trusted people. And even teams like this, they may be, in the publishing arena, but they may be also able to still guide you in other creative projects, because planning other projects requires writing and getting things in place. So, you can get support even from a team like this in other works.
That's so true. And I think that does keep some people from starting, is just thinking about, I don't know anything about publishing. I don't know anything about the steps that need to be taken. So I don't know if it's even worthwhile for me to get started.
Mm-hmm.
And so giving encouragement to just take that step.
Mm-hmm. And
The
I'll
right
say,
people will be provided for you to learn those next steps.
and I'll tell people, you can't learn everything from a YouTube video, as I learned, because I've watched, videos and read blogs on how to write and publish a book. It wasn't there. It was working with a dedicated team of professionals who could literally give me the roadmap and walk me through the roadmap.
And that is what you got.
Mm-hmm, absolutely.
It really was the roadmap. And I think that's one of the things I'm most excited about with this cohort. So we are now complete with our second round,
Mm-hmm.
and we're just getting ready to start our third and final cohort of 2025, is knowing that every single thing that you need to know about the publishing process is going to be provided to you in a step-by-step way. So there's no questions unanswered. It's
Mm-hmm.
really a wonderful way to move through the project of publishing, and then you have it all at your disposal and you can publish any number of books because you
As case in point.
you have done it. So let's talk about book number 2. Tell us a little bit about that.
Oh, well, we can get into that at another time, but it was, using the same exact process. I wrote that book for a different reason. And it was actually, the funny thing about it was probably the first book that I thought about writing and publishing.
Oh, right.
Before I thought of doing So You Think You Can't Dance, which is the second book. I thought about writing that first and decided to write It Takes Two to Tango first, after some prayer. And confronting the myths and busting the myths that keep you from moving freely in life. And so all of the people, when they look at coming to tango or any of the other dance forms, but my primary form is tango right now, is they say, oh, I would love to dance. It sounds like it would be so much fun, but I can't dance because, and then they give me a myriad of excuses, lies, concerns, myths about why they can't dance. And I've gotten that throughout my entire career. And I knew I always wanted to write this book because usually when people can break through their fear of dancing and whatever in their mind and body and spirit is holding them back from that, they experience breakthroughs in their other areas of their life. Because once they have that breakthrough, it kind of unlocks the door in terms of how they give themselves permission and how they move through the world. And so if for no other reason, that book and that process can help you succeed in some other area. So that's what So You Think You Can't Dance is.
That's awesome. And it makes so much sense to hear you say it. It makes so much sense. And I can see how the process of learning how to dance would literally unlock new streams of creativity in your life. Because so much about dance is, giving in and letting go. So
Absolutely.
super. So outside of that book, what is going on with you in your life since you published your books?
Just getting the message out and sharing with people. I love talking about this work. I love seeing, I've been on a media tour since the publishing of the two books. And it's been so beautiful talking to a lot of very diverse audiences. And seeing not only, getting them to ask questions, but also to see them go through, even just in a conversation, the same exact things that my students go through in class. Like they're like, oh, I can see how this works here. Oh, and that means that this would happen. Or, oh, this would be perfect. Now I get it because the man is blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, welcome to my world. Yes, this is it. So that's what we've been doing. And we have some things coming up in the new year, but like I said, right now, just one conversation, one interaction at a time, just transforming people's lives. And I think putting an end to the battle of the sexes, which is my second tagline.
That's great. So we're getting ready to wrap it up, but I want to let people know how they can connect with you. What's the quickest, best way to connect with you for whatever capacity, to either hear more about what you're doing, to get your books? How can people find Linda Sutton?
Absolutely. Well, they can find me on Amazon because that's where you can find the first two books that we discussed here. Or you can find me on the social medias is probably one of the quickest. And my website is lindadsutton.com. But social media is the quickest way usually.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for spending some time with me today. It is such a joy, and we overcame all of our little speed bumps. And it was so fun to talk with you about your books. And I just honor your journey and your generosity of spirit and of love and all that you share with the world. You are making the world a better place. And we certainly need all of that we can.
Thank you so much, Ms. Leslie, for having me. This has been a pleasure and joy. And I look forward to collaborating with you on other things in the future.
Yes, most definitely. I love it. Well, thank you all for joining us on Author Spotlight today. And Author Spotlight is where we get together and we talk with all kinds of authors. If you would like to come on and talk about your book, please feel free to get in touch with me. You don't have to have written a book that was published by Victoria Shoe Press. We like to talk with all authors. It's our way of giving back to the writing and publishing world. So we hope to see you again real soon. I think next week we are going to be talking with Janet Jacobs about a very important subject. So we look forward to that. So thank you all. Have a great day, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.